Kenya, safari capital of the world. Hello and welcome to this video on uncovering the rich history of Kenya. Kenya has incredible natural beauty, diverse culture, and rich history. From the pre-colonial era to today, Kenya's fascinating history has shaped the country and its people. This video will explore the historical events that have shaped Kenya and its people, from its early civilization to its independence. Pre-colonial era. The pre-colonial era in Kenya refers to the period before the arrival of European colonizers in the late 19th century. During this time, Kenya was home to various ethnic communities, each with unique cultural and political practices. The Bantu people, who had migrated from West Africa and the Great Lakes region, were the largest ethnic group in Kenya. They were predominantly farmers and had developed a system of agriculture well adapted to the local climate and terrain. Other ethnic groups, such as the Cushites and Nilotes, were primarily pastoralists and depended on cattle, sheep, and goats for their livelihood. These communities' significant social, economic, and cultural interactions marked the pre-colonial era. Trade and exchange of ideas were facilitated by the movement of people, goods, and information across the region. These interactions resulted in the developing of a rich and diverse cultural heritage, which is still evident in Kenya today. Colonial era. During the colonial era, Kenya was under the control of the British. In 1885, the Berlin Conference allocated East Africa to Germany. However, the British took over the region, which they called British East Africa, in 1895. Kenya became a British protectorate in 1895 and a colony in 1920. The colonial period was characterized by exploitation, racial segregation, and discrimination. The British introduced cash crop farming, which replaced subsistence farming and forced many Kenyans to work on European-owned plantations. The colonial government implemented policies that favored Europeans over Africans, such as the Land Consolidation Act of 1930, which allowed Europeans to acquire large tracts of land while limiting African land ownership. The colonial government also implemented a system of forced labor known as the hut tax, which required every adult male to pay a tax in cash or work. These policies resulted in the marginalization of Kenyan Africans and fueled nationalist sentiments. Independence and post-colonial era. In response to colonization, Kenyan nationalist movements emerged, the most prominent being the Kenya African Union, KAU, founded in 1944. The KAU campaigned for independence and the end of colonial rule, leading to the Mau Mau Rebellion in 1952. The uprising was a violent campaign against the colonial government and European settlers, and it was led by the Kikuyu Central Association, KCA, a forerunner to the KAU. The colonial government eventually suppressed the rebellion, but it sparked international condemnation of the British colonial government's actions. In 1960, Kenya became a republic, and Jomo Kenyatta, a prominent nationalist leader, became the country's first president. The colonial era significantly impacted Kenya's history and is still remembered today for its brutal policies and the emergence of nationalist movements. Cultural heritage. Kenya has a rich cultural heritage with over 40 ethnic groups, each with unique traditions, customs, and beliefs. These ethnic groups include the Kikuyu, Luo, Kalenjin, Luhya, and Maasai. Music and dance play a significant role in Kenyan culture. Traditional dances such as the Maasai jumping dance and the Giriama dance are still performed today. Drums, stringed instruments, and other traditional instruments typically accompany the music. Kenyan cuisine is also diverse and varies depending on the region and ethnic group. Some popular Kenyan dishes include ugali, a maize meal served with various stews, nyama choma, grilled meat, and samosas, deep-fried pastries filled with vegetables or meat. Traditional clothing varies among the ethnic groups, with the Maasai known for their bright red shukas, cloths, and beaded jewelry. Kenya's cultural heritage is celebrated through various festivals and events, such as the Lamu Cultural Festival, the Mombasa Carnival, and the Marilal Camel Derby. These events attract locals and tourists and offer a glimpse into the country's diverse cultural heritage. Wildlife conservation. Wildlife conservation in Kenya is essential to the country's history and culture. The country is home to many wildlife species, including lions, elephants, rhinoceroses, leopards, and buffalo. However, over the years, the country has had to grapple with preserving its wildlife populations. which have been threatened by poaching, habitat destruction, and human-wildlife conflict. In 1948, the government established the first national park in the country, the Nairobi National Park, to protect the black rhinoceros. After Kenya gained independence in 1963, the government increased its efforts to protect wildlife. By the 1970s, the country had established several other national parks and reserves, including the famous Maasai Mara National Reserve. The government also enacted laws to regulate hunting and trade in wildlife products. In recent years, Kenya has continued to take steps to protect its wildlife populations. The country has banned hunting, and the government has increased patrols in national parks and reserves to prevent poaching. The country's wildlife is a major attraction for tourists, and the government has been working to promote eco-tourism to generate income for local communities and support conservation efforts. Geographical location. Kenya is located in East Africa, bordered by Tanzania to the south, Uganda to the west, South Sudan to the northwest, Ethiopia to the north, Somalia to the east, and the Indian Ocean to the southeast. The equator runs through the country, giving it a tropical climate with warm temperatures year-round. The capital and largest city of Kenya is Nairobi, which is located in the southern part of the country, near the border with Tanzania. Nairobi is Kenya's economic, cultural, and political center and is home to many important institutions, including the United Nations Environment Programme and the United Nations Office at Nairobi. Language. Kenya has diverse linguistic groups, each with its unique language. The two official languages in Kenya are English and Kiswahili. Kiswahili, which is the national language of Kenya, is a Bantu language that Arabic, English, and Portuguese have influenced. It is widely spoken in East Africa and is used as a means of communication in Kenya and some parts of Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. Apart from Kiswahili and English, there are over 60 languages spoken in Kenya, with the most significant being Kikuyu, Luya, Kalenjin, Luo, Kamba, and Meru. Each language has unique dialects and variations, making the country a rich linguistic melting pot. Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is the highest mountain in Kenya and the second highest mountain in Africa after Kilimanjaro. It is a stratovolcano in central Kenya, about 150 kilometers, 93 miles, northeast of Nairobi. The mountain is part of the Mount Kenya National Park and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Mount Kenya has three prominent peaks: Bashan, Nelion, and Point Lenana. Bashan and Nelion are technical climbs requiring advanced mountaineering skills, while Point Lenana can be reached by a trekking route that does not require technical climbing skills. Point Lenana is the most famous peak to climb, offering stunning views of the surrounding landscape. A lush forest ecosystem, home to many endangered species, such as the Bongo antelope, black rhino, and African elephant, surrounds the mountain. The forest is also a vital water catchment area, supplying water to millions of people downstream. Climbing Mount Kenya is a popular activity for tourists and locals alike. The trek to Point Lenana can take 3 to 5 days, depending on the route and the trekker's pace. The walk offers stunning views of the mountain, the forest, and the wildlife that inhabits the area. Conclusion. Kenya's rich and complex history has shaped its people and its place in the world. By exploring this history, we can better understand Kenya's unique culture, its struggles and triumphs, and its position in the global community. We hope this video has been informative and inspired you to learn more about this incredible country. Thank you for watching.